So now we're going to get into this Chris Hedges story. There's a lot to say here. There's a lot to say. And I'm only going to go off of what I do know and what I've researched. I did a little bit of researching on my own about nonprofits because I just wanted to see what is really happening here. So if you're not on Twitter or you're not subscribed to Chris Hedges' Substack, you probably have not seen this message. But Chris Hedges actually made this announcement. This was last night. I was just informed by Max Alvarez, the editor-in-chief at the Real News Network, that they will no longer run my show. The reason for the cancellation, he said, is that my critiques of Biden, especially for the genocide in Gaza, jeopardizes his nonprofit status. My last show with Dennis Kucinich, who is running as an independent for Congress in Ohio, was removed from the site. And it says there, signed Chris Hedges. Now, first and foremost, before we get into the research, we're going to go to Real News Network because I want to show you something. So if you go to Real News Network, right? First and foremost, they're almost at 1 million subscribers. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, if we go to the playlist here, Chris Hedges' show, or actually I need to do the homepage. Chris Hedges' show.
Real News exists because of people.
No, not right now, Max. Not right now, bruh. Chris Hedges' show is the most popular show on the Real News Network. If you look at the homepage, you'll see latest stories, past live streams, edge of sports. You can see, 9.1K views, 3.8K views, etc. Police accountability report, 15K views. Some of these are larger than others, 89K views, etc. But the Chris Hedges report, this was the most popular show on the Real News Network. You can tell just from the views, 212K views, 224,000 views, the most popular show on the network. Now you have to remember that Chris Hedges came over to the Real News Network after his show was removed from RT. So remember when the war started between Russia and Ukraine, remember RT America was removed. So all of these different, journalists that had a show on RT, like Abby Martin, like Lee Camp and Chris Hedges and Jesse Ventura also had a show on there. Terrell Ventura had a show. All those shows were gone once the war started with Russia and Ukraine. So the most popular one on the channel, just without a doubt. Now, one of the things that Chris said in that tweet was that, one of the criticisms was about Joe Biden, obviously, but also about the war in Gaza. I think he says a little bit more on his Substack. Okay. This was really interesting to me because just yesterday, watch this. Just yesterday, there was a live stream on the Real News Network called Student Intifada Live Stream, Stanford University of Michigan, Indiana University, and more. So this is, they have the pro Gaza view, pro Palestinian view. This streamed yesterday. Okay. So let's look at others because I was a little nosy because something about this just seemed a little bit weird to me. So if we look at more, see police, a lot of it is workers. These are just live streams. 6 months ago, pro-Palestinian activists take to the streets, right? Okay, so let's look at something a little bit more recent. Let's go to videos. These will be like the clips, just like I do. We clip videos from live streams, stuff like that. We have sports, labor. Oh, what's this? Just 2 days ago, the university fears us inside University of Michigan's Gaza student encampment. So I'm a little bit confused about the Gaza remark, because while Chris Hedges may have covered those stories are also covered by other people on the network. Those stories, you see them throughout the network. So why is it problematic that Chris Hedges talked about Gaza or criticized Biden on Gaza, but it's not problematic for them to talk about, the student protests and talk about the Gaza war from a pro-Palestinian view? Why is it okay for others on the network to do that, but it was problematic that Chris Hedges did it? I could understand if there was no other content like that on the network and it was just Chris Hedges, but that is not the case. Does that seem weird to you? It seemed weird to me. It seemed a little weird to me. Now, the other thing that's missing, which is what Chris also discussed, is this interview that he had with Dennis Kucinich. So now, if you go to Chris Hedges' videos here, the Chris Hedges report, you'll notice the most recent video that's posted is from 3 weeks ago. That wasn't the last video, the latest video. So yes, they deleted the interview that Chris Hedges had with Dennis Kucinich. Why? Dennis Kucinich is not running for president of the United States. Dennis Kucinich is running for Congress. Okay, so I'm really confused. Real News Network, I'm really confused. Why is that a problem? I don't understand. So I had to do a little bit of digging. And then we'll see here. We're going to go to Chris's page because I want to show you, because I can't, I just, something about this don't sit right with me. And my spidey senses are going off. So if you go to Chris Hedges' page, we'll go down. He actually he shared that interview that he did with Dennis Kucinich. So let's go to that one really quick. And Chris doesn't post as much as some people. So I'm trying to find it. I might have missed it. It might be gone now, actually, because they deleted it. So now, here it is. Yeah. The Chris Hedges report with independent candidate House Dennis Kucinich and the corruption in the two-party system. So if you open, it's not going to let me in because all right, let me go back. Back. Sorry about that, guys. Let's go back. Let me go to media. Might be able to find it quicker that way. Sorry, guys. I'm a little bit more organized. I saw it earlier. It may be gone now. That's what I'm saying, because they deleted the video. So maybe he took it down. I don't know. But it was here earlier. There was actually a link for it. I'll just do one more quick check to see if it's not just the Substack one, because there's Chris and that's Vincent Bevan. I saw it. I think it's gone now, you guys. There's Norm Finkelstein. I think it's gone. Yeah, it's gone now. I'll be damned. Yeah, because they removed it. Okay, that's all right. Let's go back to the nonprofit status, because I did look some things up. People are not happy about this. Ajamu came in and he said, it turns out the real news is anything but that. Does anyone have a backbone and a set of principles anymore? Yo, people, I told you, I said, if you go on Twitter brace yourself, because people are very upset, and I totally understand it. Totally understand it. You should have downloaded the video set. I know. I didn't think about that at the time. And I don't know if that video exists anywhere else now. That's the thing, because it was on Real News Network. Violin says, yay, Ajamu. Yeah, I know. Max Blumenthal. Oh, Max had a lot to say. After the highly suspect ouster of the Real News founder and longtime director Paul J., Chris Hedges' departure will deliver the nail in the coffin to a once trailblazing alt media organization. TM Scrubs, the lone sugar daddy of the Real News Network, has driven this outlet into the ground with his erratic personality and reflexively imperialistic views. See, I didn't know about this. So Max is saying that the sugar daddy, allegedly, of the network apparently has imperialist views. He goes on to say the Real News will now follow hollowed out or defunct online progressive outlets like Alternet, Salon, Truth Dig, and many others into oblivion. These organizations rose to prominence during the George W. Bush post 9/11 era, marketing themselves as anti-war alternatives to the establishment, then gradually collapsed under the weight of liberal foundation donors, Obama worship, then Trump-era Russiagate hysteria, while their staff became infested with dysfunctional conformists driven by the current thing. I have known Hedges for about 2 decades and learned a lot from him throughout that time. I'm excited for his next act as a truly independent journalist. So that was from Max Blumenthal. And yeah, if you actually saw his Substack message, he said he's going to focus on doing just a truly independent, outlet. Now, the issue with the nonprofit, I did have to look into this because I don't know. I got some questions. This issue that his nonprofit status would be, I guess, in jeopardy because of criticizing Biden, etc. So I started to look up what is the issue with nonprofits and political campaigns and just political speech in general. And I found this is actually on the IRS's website. Check this out, peeps. The restriction of political campaign intervention by Section 501c3 tax-exempt organization. Now, this is assuming, because Real News Network is a nonprofit, so this is assuming it's a 501c3. So let's go forward. Check this out. Just going to highlight this part right here so you guys can see it. Under the Internal Revenue Code, all Section 501c3 organizations are absolutely prohibited from directly or indirectly participating in or intervening in any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for elective office. So, but what does all that really mean? Define participating in, define intervening in. So obviously you probably can't run for office, right? But it's a little vague. It's a little vague. So obviously Chris Hedges isn't running for office, and neither was Max Alvarez. Let's go a little bit further. This is wild, man. Contributions to a political campaign. Okay, this part. Contributions to political campaign funds or public statements of position, verbal or written, made on behalf of the organization in favor of or in opposition to any candidate for public office clearly violate the prohibition against political campaign activity. Violating this prohibition may result in denial or revocation of tax-exempt status and the imposition of certain excise tax. Now, this is coming from the IRS. I have another site I'm going to show you as well. So peeps in the chat, let me know. But basically, if I am just going to try to wrap this up, it sounds like if you're a 501c3, not only can you not participate in a political campaign, but this is also saying that the organization itself cannot be in favor or opposition to any candidate for public office. Does this sound right to you guys? And I mean, again, it's the IRS website. So I don't have no control over that. But it's the Real News Network. It's a news network. So are you not allowed? Are you just not going to talk about politics at all? Somebody explain this to me. I know one of you in the chat is a lawyer. Somebody out there watching is a lawyer. They know something more about this than I do. But this is just a little bit weird to me where he says that sounds a bit odd. It just, I mean, it's a news network. Nick says shady as fuck. News. So what is this, Violin? But that doesn't mean they can't interview candidates. That's what I'm saying. So what? I'm struggling, folks. This was like, I seriously was wrecking my brain over this. I was like, so they can't participate in campaigns, but they can't have opposition or be in favor of any political candidate. But what if the nonprofit is a news network? Are you supposed to talk about all news except for political candidates? And if this is the case, and this is true, so does that mean that the Real News Network was never aware of this particular, piece in reference to nonprofits? Then why would they have a news network? Somebody help me out on this one. I don't know. ER says churches too. I don't know, ER. I do not know, but I had never heard of this until recently. Robbie says Kucinich must have said something. I should have downloaded that video, but it was too late. Miss Pamela said it's like churches aren't supposed to talk about politics. They're not supposed to, but yes, Mary. I see you, Mary. I'm coming to you. We going that way. So that's on the IRS website. There's a little bit more information here because I went to another website. This one is Alliance for Justice. This is another organization, but I feel like they broke this down in a way that the IRS kind of did not. In fact, they criticized the way the IRS breaks this down. So Alliance for Justice, in reference to this is what they said. Commenting on candidates and campaigns, how a 501c3s can respond during an election year. So that's the other thing. It's election year. So let's dive in here. And I don't know why this is so. Okay, there we go. Okay. 501c3 organizations that want to comment on candidate or political party statements need to be careful. The IRS has provided little guidance, I told you, on how to handle such communications. A 501c3 should have a good reason to speak up in these situations, like correcting a factual error, and the subject should be one that is important to the organization. So it goes on to say here, representatives of a 501c3 should focus on what was said, the issue, not who said it, the candidate. So, like I said, if this is the case, then they can't talk about political candidates at all. Very weird. Then it goes on to say, this part right here that I thought, Avoid talking about a candidate's qualifications or whether someone is a good or bad candidate. Avoid discussing a candidate's record. Commenting on a candidate's record is very close to commenting on a candidate's qualifications or whether he or she should be elected. Avoid talking about voters and making references to, for example, instead of saying voters will not accept, say Americans won't accept. Avoid identifying the candidate by name. It is better to say during the recent Republican debate, statements were made about X. We disagree. But the problem, okay, and here's a big one. Be very cautious if a reporter asks about which candidate is better on the 501c3 issues or whether the 501c3 agrees with a statement a candidate made. Okay, get it, got it, good. But it's a news network. So was Max Alvarez not aware that as a 501c3, you cannot discuss these issues? Because to me, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it be a news network? It sounds like maybe he was not aware. I don't know. But they basically threatened to revoke the nonprofit status. And I'm just going to say this, and then we'll come up with the video because I want to point to this because I saw your comment there. Mary, I saw your comment. This is why the number of times that people contacted me and they said, Sabby, you know, you should get an investor, work with an investor, and then you'll be able to have more equipment. You'll have better quality videos on the ground, etc. This is why Sabby will not work with an investor, because everything's fine and dandy in the beginning until you start talking about things that they don't want you to talk about. Then all of a sudden they want to pull their funding. So I just do the best with what I have and just go with it. And then when I was able to save more money, then I would improve equipment and stuff around me. But I just go with what I have and do what I can do the best I can. I never wanted to have to rely on an investor. This is one of the things that really scared me the most when people said, just get an investor and then you don't have to worry about that and you'll get the professional cameras and all that stuff. Nah, man, because with that money comes strings attached. And this is why I didn't see this happen to people before. So Mary, thank you so much, Mary. Mary was knowing exactly where I was about to go. When Chris set up and helped Cornel West step up for his run for president in the beginning, he was considering that moment more than like. So the Cornel West Green Party thing, this makes me wonder if this is the real issue. Because like I showed you, they're still talking about Gaza. They're still talking about encampments. Okay, let's say the Biden thing is still an issue or whatever. But like I said, it's a news network. So you were going to talk about politics and politicians at some point. But I wonder if this is the nail in the coffin. Remember last year? Remember at Workers Strike Back? Everyone remembers this viral video when Cornel West was running with the People's Party and Chris Hedges made the suggestion about the Green Party. Listen to this, just a reminder.
Professor Hedges, about this announcement that Cornel West is running. He's decided to run with the Movement for a People's Party. I know Socialist Alternative, Workers Strike Back has advocated for a new party, a new third party. There have been questions about why not run with the Green Party. MPP has been embroiled in a degree of controversy over the course of the last couple of years. And I wonder what you make strategically about of that particular choice and how the left should look at it.
Just off the record. I've been playing with my phone because I set up a meeting with Cornell and the Green Party for tomorrow morning because of the issues you just raised.
Okay, so some of you may have seen that, some of you may not. I think a lot of you did see that. So that was when Dr. West was running with the People's Party, and this issue was raised during the worker strike back meeting in New York. And on that panel, and there was Bree and Shama and Chris Hedges were on that panel, and that was Chris Hedges there saying like he, was setting up a meeting with Cornel West and the Green Party at that point in time. That was last year, folks. That was almost a year ago. So it almost kind of seems like to me, again, he was already with Real News Network at that point in time. It seems like to me, like, don't you think they would have said something to him about that back then? But then it dawned on me, it wasn't election year. Now it is election year. And the third party and independent candidates, they do have big names. So I'm wondering if this is what they're able to hold against Chris Hedges and say, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, Max, but either Chris Hedges' show is removed from this network or we're going to pull our funding from you, because Chris Hedges was the one that set up the meeting with Cornel and the Green Party. And now you got this opposition against Joe Biden. Part of me feels like it's not just Biden. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that is probably what Max said to Chris. But part of me feels like it's a little bit deeper than that. And that could have been what they said to Max. But I wonder if it's somewhere along the way, maybe they got this impression that he was actually a part of the campaign, which he's not. In fact, I asked him about this when he came on last time. So I just want to address this here. He wasn't working with the campaign. 2024 presidential election.
Locked up in a high security prison where he's been for 5 years, even though he's not been.
Interesting. One more question for you, Chris, because I know you got to get out of here. 2024 presidential election. A lot of us saw the video that went kind of viral of you on Twitter at the Worker Strike Back Summit when you suggested that Dr. West run with the Green Party. A lot has changed since then. Dr. West left the Green Party and decided to run as an independent. Jill Stein is running with the Green Party for and I believe she's winning pretty much the nomination in almost every state where they're having the nomination decided. What do you think now going into the 2024 election? Right now, Jill Stein, out of the third party and independent candidates, she does have the most ballot access. What is your take on this? Because, again, the reality is Joe Biden and Donald Trump both support the state of Israel. And I'm looking to vote independent or third party for someone who actually understands that we need to pull away from this idea of the Zionist movement, et cetera, and that the Palestinian people need to have some type of some type of self-determination. They need to be free from Israel's grasp. Do you think that now could be the time? Because Joe Biden is losing support between African-American voters, Latino voters, and younger voters as well. Do you think now could be the time that people could actually break the duopoly?
Well, I'm not going to vote for Biden. I mean, genocide is a moral issue. It's not a political issue. I have had one friend who was killed and several others who have disappeared. They're presumably dead. We haven't heard from them in weeks. So I don't see how we have to make any government that supports genocide. We have to punish them. And the way we punish it is withholding support. I, of course, don't want Trump as president, but I think I can't. That's a line I can't cross. Was very instrumental in getting Cornel into the Green Party, and it was, as you point out, over ballot access, because I worked for Ralph Nader. I was a speechwriter, and I understand how difficult it is to get on the ballot. Both parties conspire to block third parties from getting on the candidate. And they have all sorts of nefarious ways to do it, state by state. And I don't think Cornel, I think he's only on the ballot in Alaska and Oregon, last I heard. It's really, really tough. I was not here over the summer. I was doing Assange events in Europe, but so I wasn't part of that decision to walk away. But I worry that he's just not going to be on any significant states, and that is the benefit of a Green Party candidate, is that they probably will be able to get on a significant number of ballots. And
so I don't want to play the whole thing, but the point that I was trying to make there, and this was fairly recent. This was shoot balls. This was, oh damn, 2 weeks ago. Okay, so that was really 2 weeks ago? Really? Okay. Well, anyway, it says that was 2 weeks ago. I don't know. There's been a lot of interviews lately, so I'm losing touch with some things. Had an interview earlier today. I'm going to post that one. So anyway, I wanted to play that because, as you can see, obviously, like, he was traveling. It didn't sound like he was actually working with the campaign, but because I think, he was a part of bringing Dr. West to the Green Party campaign. Whatever the investors told Max Alvarez, it could be that is what they said to him. I do not know. I was not there. But I have a strong feeling that it's not just because Chris Hedges criticized Joe Biden. I think it has something to do with the fact that Chris Hedges was, instrumental in bringing Cornel West to the Green Party. Cornel West, popular person, even though Cornel West left the Green Party, that still brought a lot of attention his way at that point in time. And Joe Biden is losing to Donald Trump in all the swing states at this point in time. And I feel like that's what they're holding against Chris Hedges. And maybe not just that, maybe also the Gaza stuff too. But if I'm going on to the Real News Network right now, and I'm seeing that you just posted a live stream yesterday, Student Intifada live stream, and you got Intifada in the title. Why was it okay to do that, but it's not okay for Chris Hedges to talk about Biden and Gaza? It don't fit right with me, son. It does not feel right. Something feels a little Sabby not likey. Sabby doesn't like, and I don't know about you guys, but it just seems a little weird to me. And I feel like they basically are punishing Chris Hedges, because Chris Hedges votes third party, and he's been vocal about it, and he's telling people very clearly, no, I'm not going to support Joe Biden or Donald Trump. So I think that's what this is really about, and this is a problem. But it's very sad to see. I'll have to check it, Robbie. Robbie says Sabby Kucinich transcript up on SharePost. Okay, I'll have to look over it. I haven't had a chance to look over that. But I'm just saying, where he says Sabby no likey should be on the next batch of merch. Sabby no likey. No, I don't like. But it just all seems a little bit weird to me. Why would you cancel one of the most popular journalists? Chris Hedges isn't just a journalist, but a professor, and he's an author. He's written books. He's traveled to a lot of these countries. He's covered war conflicts. It's not like this is someone who started writing yesterday. He brought a lot of traffic and energy to the Real News Network. They're almost at 1 million subs, and I'm pretty sure that Chris Hedges' show had a lot to do with that, because it wasn't always that way. And I remember. So you remove the most popular show on your network I don't get it. I don't get it, fam. And, but that's okay, because check this, because peep this. Sometimes it's best to say no to the money. Sometimes it's best to say no to the investors. Sometimes it's best to say no, even if people say, well, you do it as this way, and then you'll get people to invest. And people have contacted me and asked to invest, and I say no. You don't know these people. They see a new thing and they want to latch onto it, and they say, I'll invest in you. But again, there's strings that are attached to that money. And the moment you start talking about something that they disagree with or disapprove of, next thing you know, they start telling you how to do your show and what you should pull from your show or pull from your network. Because that to me, that's a career ender for Real News Network. A number of people already contacted me about this before I even covered the story. A number of people contacted me and said they are done with Real News Network because of this. It just doesn't make no sense. Where should Chris Hedges go next? He said he's going to do like an independent platform, but where do you think? Someone mentioned the gray zone. I can't speak for the gray zone. Someone mentioned electric intifada. I can't speak for them either, But that was not a good move, son. Like, I just, I can't even say it in a professional way, but it's just like, that was not a good move, fam. Oh my God. That was bad. That was bad. But I think, according to his Substack, it sounds like he's going to do 100% independent, try to do that thing. And I think that's the best way to go. And I hear you guys. It's just, yeah, because where he says the investors would just write it off and move on while your program is in shambles. Yes, sir. That's exactly what they'll do. That's why sometimes it's just good to say no and just keep it moving. So many people, I'm gonna go to the comments here, but the number of people who emailed me already before I even posted the live stream, the number of people emailed me and told me that they unsubscribed from Real News Network because of this. So that was not a good move.